very wonderful speech. We appreciate you, sir, for that diligent message. I think we should try as much as possible now to bring in Dr. Yakubu Shandam to give a goodwill message. Dr. Yakubu Shandam is the chairman, governing board of Nigeria Youth Congress. Please, sir, you can come in.
Well, I'm particularly very, very impressed with the guest speaker position. His address is like, I think I will also still go back to the university. But however, I want to personally thank the governor of Nasarawa State. I'm shocked. I'm very shocked when I hear his position, his humility. It has got to show that I think the last election in Nasarawa actually produced the right person to lead a state like Nasarawa State. I'm from Plateau, so it's my neighbor. I've been driving around that area. I have been hearing the political maneuver there, but this governor is something else. For him to even come to appear, he has shown that he's a governor that has the youth in heart. And actually, from his disposition, having a school in the US and turn back, work with AP and work with Angote, that means that he has the capacity and the knowledge to bring Nasarawa. I want to disagree with you, Excellency, when you say you don't have the kind of money Lagos have. Nasarawa is one of the richest states in Nigeria. It's just that they have not had the right leadership to tap the resources that in Nasarawa State. I know what I'm talking about. You have all the mineral resources in Nasarawa State. But most of the governors that were there, maybe they were blind or they don't know how to go about it. Otherwise, the state could survive even more than Lagos. So I think with your experience, you will have to tap in and dig all the resources so that the Chinese will not continue to steal our mineral resources that we have in that part of the country. Having said that, I will want to say thank you very much, Your Excellency, and I hope that very soon we will try our best to come and visit you one-on-one, even though the social distancing is still in place. We can keep 6 meters from you. Then let me thank the Minister of State for Education. I've met him once when he was with the, I think, the Universal Third Fund or so, before he went to the House of Rep, and now you are Minister. So we are very grateful to have you here. Well, in a nutshell, the issue of education, particularly the primaries, they say when a fish is bad, you have to check the head. The head remains that primary education is the bedrock of education itself. Because if you don't put the primary education, you are wasting time in university. That is why we graduate our pilot, yet some of us go and hire some red Indians to fly us. That means you don't even trust your engineers. You go and hire people from Italy to build our roads, to build our bridges, when we have all the engineers here. That means there was no foundation. So we must begin to accept our product. We must hire our engineers if really we make them well. So we have to go back to the bedrock, which is the primary education. I've been in the student unionism before. I was a former president of Polytechnic student in Nigeria, and I saw the curriculum. Is everything about Nigeria is like it's upside down, because we keep wondering with all the resources every year that government put in education ministry, but you can still go back to classroom. You see the primary schools. If you go to some state, you will be shocked. You will be surprised that where is this money going to. So some of what we are proposing that primary education should be handled even by state government. So it become a competition, because that is the only way that happened in the 1950s during the era of Awolowo. You saw how he went into the primary, the universal education in the Southwest. Today we have professors everywhere in the Southwest. I think, Excellency, you have to help us out. Since other governors are not taking this thing serious or they don't understand this thing, you should take a lead as a governor who has gone there and have seen it all. Come and take a lead and build education in Nigeria so that we can begin to recognize our product. Today in the Polytechnic, I went to the Polytechnic before I went to the university. If you finish for Polytechnic, you cannot be a rector in that same Polytechnic you finish. they will go and bring somebody from the university to come and erect it. Is it that they don't trust their own product? These are the problems, these are the challenges we're having. You go and bring a professor from the university to come and head a polytechnic. Meanwhile, you are teaching to protect. So these are the confusion. So the minister should look at this issue of even the HND and PSC dichotomy issue. Today, you finish for polytechnic, you want to join the Nigerian custom, they will put you at the inspector cadre. Then they will take. So the confusion is there. And I think there are some elite in the education system that are maneuvering this thing. Some time ago, Obasanjo removed the dichotomy. But after he left, the thing went back to square one. So they have to address this issue once and for all. Otherwise, we will just continue to go like this. This government come, another one go. There will be different policies. And the issue of continuity is also a very big problem. So, Your Excellency, I want to plead with you. Collaborate with the Nigerian Youth Congress, which is one of the leading youth group in the country, recognized by the government now. Let us build a new youth organization, a new direction, a new system in our country. You see the political crisis all over the country now is going on. It's becoming very confusing. Nobody knows where we're headed. We have even forgotten about the issue of COVID-19. We're not talking about 2023. And the disease is continually, eating into the fabric of the nation. All schools are closed. I'm doing a degree program at University of Jos. For the past 4 months, I was supposed to have graduated. I don't even know whether I'm going to even graduate at all, because there is no measure, because there's no way you can go to the class and this disease will not catch you. And that is why even the minister himself, he has been having sleepless night, the Minister of Education. He doesn't even know where we will start. And this is because we as a nation, we don't have a national plan. We don't have a future plan, because if we have plan, we will have taken notice of this problem even in the past. We squander all our resources. We are now handicapped. We have no money. The country is broke. Anybody who tell you that there is money is a liar. That is the truth. We ate all the money. Now we are broke. How do we do? How do we tackle all these problems? The education problem is there. The security is there. Several issues. So I think there should be a holistic. Some of you who are very intelligent governors, like the governor of Nasarawa, I think you should take a break from politics and sit down with Nigerians, the Nasarawa state people, and think deep. What do we do? Because there's a problem. The minister knows what I'm talking about. There's a problem. But politics, bureaucracy will not allow us to move this country forward. It's unfortunate. So we as youth leaders decided that no, enough is enough. Let us work with those leaders who are thinking deep, so that we can build Nigeria of our dreams. Look at Ghana here. We are making capital flight. People are going to Ghana to go and going to university. Malaysia, for crying out loud. Ghana, we are running around here for 10 years ago. Now we are moving back to Ghana to go and school in Ghana. Why? Why should we go to Ghana to go and school? So these are the problems. Most of our leaders send their children to Ghana, send them to Malaysia, Singapore. So these are the challenges we're having, and we don't know how to solve it. They say we are leaders of tomorrow. We want to be leaders of today. That is why we took this bold step to begin to engage you people in a polite manner, so that we can have a direction. So I thank you very much, Your Excellency. I'm so proud of you as a governor. In fact, you are going to be my role model. And I want to declare on behalf of the Congress, I'm the board chairman of the Congress, we are going to crown you as the doyen of the youth of this country, because you have shown us an exemplary leadership. Your disposition was so polite, so humane. You look as a very simple person. I've been here, even you are chairman of the state youth congress, very versatile. Since we appointed him as chairman, he has virtually visited all the stakeholders in the state, even the Metis Allah. He has visited them to see how peace can return to the state and to the other part of the country. So your state is taking a lead in the Congress. We appreciate all the professors who are in this program, the special advisor, the president on youth matters, who is our host and our mentor as well, who is one of our very strong board members, and our friend from BBC who started this struggle in the first place in London, Mark Jacob. I appreciate you, and I hope you are going to put us in the Chatham House, because after this virus, or even if we're going to live with the virus, we'll not be afraid to come to London to come and address the Chatham House and discuss the issue of Nigeria education global. British people are supposed to be our colonial master. Why have they abandoned our system? These are all the questions we should ask as youth leaders. So I thank all of you, and we hope that we are going to meet you very soon personally to fraternize and continue to build our country, our education system. So thank you very much, Your Excellency. Once again, thank you very much, Honorable Minister of Education. And thank you very much, the keynote speaker. I don't know which university you are coming from, but you are supposed to be the vice chancellor because your speech is wonderful. You as if you memorized it in your brain. I didn't see you reading any paper, so you've done a good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sam. Thank you very much for that wonderful speech. And now we're not wasting our time. I would like to bring in Professor Tony Ogiame. Professor Tony Ogiame is the founder and chancellor of the American Heritage University, so that we can have the perspectives of this Western world. How are they doing it in the US? Professor Tony Ogiame. After Professor Tony Ogiame, Honorable Shina Pella. Honorable Shina Pella is a member of the Committee on Education. Is also an honorable representing Iriakari in Oyo State. So Professor Tony Ogiame, please, we want you in. We have unmuted you now. After Honorable Shina Pella, Otumba Majok Bola should be getting ready so that he can also come up from the perspective of the United Kingdom. Thank you very much, sir. Professor.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, fantastic. We are hearing you, sir.
Very good. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to participate in this event. I'm grateful to God that we're all alive today to witness the way education is being transformed in every part of the world. I was part of it in Nigeria. I'm a founding member of the law faculty in Benin. So I'm not in diaspora, and I want to make this clear so everyone can understand me. With 2 law degrees in the United States in 1970s, and then Essex PhD in the United Kingdom, and I'm a lawyer. I was a former dean of law in Benin, 1996 to 1999, before I returned to the United States to teach. That was after my retirement. The idea to go into online teaching came as a result of the demand in the early 2003, 2004. I can say that we are we belong to the first generation of teaching online. So I can comfortably tell you that we have seen the growth and direction of online teaching in the United States. Luckily, I was granted a license in 2003 to open a university, not online, but a university. I believe to date I'm the first African, first Nigerian to be granted a license to operate a university in the United States. Now, it is a private university. I hardly have any investors, so I limited it to 2 programs. I have a law school and a business school, and that's all. I don't have any other program. We have been running this since 2003. The programs are very popular. We have name recognition now, despite all the headaches we had here and there because of my color, because of where I came from, but I have been able to overcome all that. So the license did not say start an online university. The license is to establish a university. We chose online because that was the cheapest way we can go. And around that time, around 2003, we had PeopleSoft, we have eCollege, we have learninghouse.com, and several others. And throughout the years, some of them started to merge with themselves. And it came to a point where we now said, okay, rather than use international approved standards, let us build our own online campus. And that's exactly what we did. I had a young man from United Kingdom, one from South Africa, and an Indian, along with my son, who is a PhD in computer information systems. So they all came together to build our own platform. So we don't rely on all this Zoom and all that. We have our own platform, and it's working very well for us. We use it to teach students, law students, and they come out, they take the bar exam, and they are lawyers. That's the best testimony I can give you at this time. We are not fly by night. We are operating under the Bureau for Private Post-Secondary Education of California State. So we have it all. I tried to bring it to Nigeria in 2012. I went through all the difficulties. Professor Okoje kept on and on with me, and we never got anywhere. So I have to return here. So I'm retired now, and that's why I'm chancellor. I used to be the president of the school. So my son has taken over Professor Aitwa Ogiami. He was born in the United States when I was a law student. So, we all returned to Nigeria in 1981 to Benin. And then as time went on and I retired, I brought everybody back. So they have the best of the worlds. I have the contact. I have where we work with all that you can think of to assist any school, any organization, any profit or private. We can consult and then help out these schools that are not able to use online teaching. So in a sense, you can call us a 100% distance learning university, 100%. I'm not very comfortable with what we are using now because I can see it is porous. There's no security. I don't know the people that manage the owners. I can tell you this. Probably will be taking a lot of information from whatever you do. I know that for sure. People will say, "Oh yes, go to Zoom," but you don't. You need to know that it is not all that very all that what it should be. But let us manage with what we have now. Now, on the impact of COVID-19, I don't see any difference. Our students are going to school every day. We don't. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about it because here we don't have any problem. Those that have problem are publicly supported schools. American Heritage is a for-profit private university, which, therefore we don't have any problem. No problem whatsoever. None whatsoever. The management, meetings with staff, faculty, academic council, and then because we have come to realize that this is the only way out. Now, part of the fault that Nigeria is having, one of the faults that Nigeria is having is that when a new idea comes in, they shy away from it rather than grab it. Nigeria is a signatory to the Commonwealth of Learning. Commonwealth of Learning is based in Canada. You can Google it. It's been there since the 90s. Commonwealth of Learning would have exposed all this to the Nigerian sector on how teaching is done, open distance learning to those that are in remote areas. I don't have any sympathy yet, but I think the system should look into the barriers, look into the barriers of online teaching. Yes, connectivity is part of it. There's limited technical experience by faculty. You have lack of motivation on both sides, students and faculty. You have personal cognitions. Individuals who just right from the onset, they say that online is not the best way to teach. Now, there are two challenging e-learning materials that we don't have. And then the curriculum that we use in classroom should not be exactly the same for online teaching. It has to be digitalized, a digitalized curriculum, so that the adult learner or the student will be able to follow. Inadequate support, lack of community involvement too. We have to find a way to tell parents that this is the way the world is going. Then, of course, we cannot rule out online learner boredom. People get bored. See, if you want to get a student to not to be bored, you don't just come to class and start to dictate notes. By the way, we rule out dictation of notes in our university. I didn't have that training. I have 2 law degrees. I was never taught with notes. I was taught through the Socratic method of teaching. When you come into class and not just bring some paper and start to read, that is not, that learning doesn't take place like that. That's when students get bored. But if you can set the tone and get the students to like them, let them know that you are working towards their success in school, then they'll begin to follow you. You don't just come and say, okay, all right, this lecture, this program, this course is going to end in several weeks and so on and so forth. Let us just do what we have to do. And then the consistent aspect of online teaching is quizzing at the end of every lecture. When you quiz students at the end of every lecture, they stay put. If you quiz every time you teach, you have a midterm and then a final. Now, above all this, you know, I taught at the University of Benin, like I said, close to 20 years. I know that students are fraudulent. You know, there's a lot of cheating. Not that we don't have cheating in America, but to a very, very lesser extent. The student, for example, the law student knows that he's going to become a lawyer. So why are you cheating? If you don't pass the bar, you can't practice law. So that is all there is to it. And funding have to go into all this. We have 2 companies that guide our students during exam. Nobody's talking about that yet in Nigeria. How do you prevent cheating during the exam? Because somebody else can come in and begin to just sit in place of a student. How do you know that? There are companies in the US that we pay that monitor all this. And while exam is going on, they are there to report to the registrar that we don't believe that Jim Anderson is the one writing this exam. And that's it. So Jim Anderson is not going to be talked to. He will have to write a separate exam in a few days. That's the way we overcome that. Because that is a very, very aspect of online teaching. How do you prevent leakages and cheating? So there are companies, very sound companies, who are trained in the art of catching these people online. Now, before I say goodbye, I want to let you know that I am happy that I came here on this occasion, and I look forward to assisting anyone because we have the wherewithal. And I want to repeat this again. I am the only one, the only Nigerian with a license to establish a university in the United States from 2004. So we are now in 2020. I wanted to return home, but I was not encouraged by NUC. Even I attended all their interactions and wanted to set up until the present executive secretary told me that I should go for regular university. And I looked at it. I'm old now, people say you don't look your age. I'm 74 years old, ladies and gentlemen. So you are talking to a 74-year-old man. Am I young? Am I young?
You are not young, sir.
But people say I look young, but I'm not. I'm 74 years old. So I know my mates who are 74, I know where they are. I know their health conditions. I don't have all that because all my life, I never practiced law, but I've trained many lawyers, including Raji Fashola, who is a minister. I taught him. I taught Omo Agege. Those were my students. I taught Sharon Ekeazo, who had just been appointed a minister. Those are my critics. These are people that can vouch. Because when I returned from the US, I noticed that lawyers were carrying books to the courtroom. So the only way to deal with that was to introduce a course called legal methods. If you are a lawyer among you, you know that you took that course. I brought that course to Nigeria in 1981. Prior to 1981, it wasn't so. The purpose of legal methods is that when you lie, you know, I can say, for example, I can just manufacture a case. I say in the case of Babalola versus Adeyemi, 1912, and you are citing that in court. So how do we know whether you are telling the truth? So that fraud had been on for very many years. When I brought this course, this course took care of that because it is in this course that we are able to do proper citation that are verifiable, that you cannot lie on it. So over the years, we have now been able to master it, and I can comfortably tell you that. The second contribution that I made to Nigeria is to change the attitude of students through dress code. Fawemi of blessed memory was in Benin in May 1997 when I was dean to honor the event. Ever since, all other law faculties started to emulate. That's the black and white. When you're in your first year, you have to wear black trousers, a shirt, and a tie. When you're in second year, you have to wear a suit. So we believe that when you dress properly, you act properly. I told my students, you can't come to class wearing jeans and chewing gum and acting irresponsibly. I stopped all that. Some of my students don't like me for that today, even when I see them on Facebook, when I interact with them. Some will be bold enough to go back to mention it. But that's what life is all about. I don't mind. But those are the two major contributions that I made. And the sacrifice was a selfless one. So when I now brought online teaching to Nigeria, the attitude was very negative. Very negative. But I'm in the best system. They will come and they go to the remote, they go to like Georgia and all those states down south, they go and get information. I live in California. I'm a Californian man. I'm one of the best states to live in the country. So I live here and had 4 children. One of I have a daughter who worked for the Foreign Service of the United States. So they're all graduates, PhD, 4 of them. So I'm done. So if Nigeria will reject, because they rejected it, I have 3 big files on this. Anyone seeking to know, I will tell you my experience with the Nigerian system. I was not welcomed at all. They saw me as somebody in diaspora. I'm not in diaspora. You say somebody is in diaspora when a person is in diaspora, when he will go from country A to country B, lives in country B, and then raise children, they pay taxes and start to live there, become a citizen, and plan to return home. He will be telling people, I'm a medical doctor, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to have clinics everywhere in Nigeria. But he does nothing in furtherance. He does nothing in furtherance of that promise. So such a person will say he's in diaspora. Okay, we say he's in diaspora. But I come to Nigeria every 2 months. Last time I was in Abuja for almost 10 months. trying to still overcome
Prof,
the problem of
we have to keep it going, Prof.
I know. I'm going to just round up now. I'm sorry if I went too far, but I think it's an opportunity for me to tell Nigerians, we are here. I'm not hiding. Once you type my name and American Heritage, everything about me will pop up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much. I think the Honorable Minister of State for Education is with us. He will do justice to all those discussions. I'm sure now you have brought the online teaching, and now this is a time of online teaching. We don't have choice than to come up with one or two. I think they were going to do justice to that. So without delaying our time, please, can we have Honorable Shina Pella? He's a member of the Committee on Higher Education, House of Representatives. Honorable Shina Pella, please. Honorable Shina Pella, if you are there, you can come online, sir.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay. Yes, I am Honorable Shina Pella. I'm a member representing Iseyin Tesiwaju. Goodwill message. I must first commend the speakers. They have all spoken very well. One thing is key. Education is the bedrock for anything we want to do in life. So our take home should be that we must strive to be the best version of ourselves and never get tired of learning. Let me draw your attention to goal number 4 of the United Nations Sustainable and Development Goal, which is quality education. This focuses on promoting lifelong learning opportunities for all. But you will agree with me that in middle-income countries like Nigeria, many children do not have access to quality education. Also, COVID-19 pandemic comes with a greater challenge for students, not to even talk about the internet displaced person. So it is a lot of challenges, and I'm glad that some were highlighted by earlier speakers. As a nation, we need to understand that coronavirus pandemic comes with a new normal, and adjusting to it rapidly would be important to improve learning for all. There is a need to rejig the framework of Nigeria's educational system. We need to find a way of making education interesting for effective participation, because getting children to school does not automatically translate to grade progression, frequent attendance, and quality learning. For instance, let's take a glance at the global educational system ranking, where Nigeria sits 124th position, and even in Africa, 25th position. This is deeply worrying, coupled with the fact that we have the highest number of out-of-school children, and our education system is not even close to being described as a skilled-based. There's more work that needs to be done. Quality education is the bedrock of the skilled workforce and the last login socio-economic development of a country. Nigeria must, as a matter of urgency, see the educational sector get more funding, and quality technology should be improved. Coronavirus has exposed the educational divide in Nigeria. Other countries can be seen effectively utilizing digital and online education, but a long decade of neglect has exposed Nigeria educational system to ridicule. How many parents can even afford to buy a laptop or smartphone and even data for their children? How many lecturers are internet savvy? We are all talking about huge deficit here, and a radical action needs to be taken to provide a solution. Let me end on this by saying a statement once said by the former president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela, may he so rest in peace. He once said, without education, your children can never really meet the challenges they will face. And today I say, the challenges before us are enormous, and only the educated will prevail. On my part as a lawmaker, I'm doing my very best to churn out legislation that I think will go a long way in improving the nation's educational system. We must build Nigeria. So this is my goodwill message. Like I said, it's been a very, very busy day for me as we're in the process of arranging the burial ceremony for our past former governor, Senator Ajimabi, that just passed away. So I just said I should quickly join this very, very important Zoom event education, and I'm happy to give my goodwill message. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. We sincerely appreciate you. To be honest with you, we are very, very glad. The governor of Oyo State is also built to be online, but because of the unfortunate incident that happened in Oyo State, we all understand what is going on in Oyo State right now. But for you finding time to join this debate, let me appreciate you sincerely on behalf of the leaderships of Nigeria Youth Congress. So without wasting much of our time, please, let's have Otumba Bola Magjok. He only has a question. The other time now he's about to give a good message. So after Otumba Bola Magjok, Professor Bernard Edo. Professor Bernard Edo should be on standby for the next speech. After Professor Edo, we also at Professor Sotari. So Otumba Bola Magjok, you have the floor, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, President. I want to use this opportunity to thank the Honorable Minister of State, for being with us from the beginning and still here, because these are ways for us to know whether we're just paying lip service to this whole thing or whether we're actually serious about it. I also want to thank the Governor of Nasarawa State and Honorable Pella, who took time out of his schedule. For me, I'm just going to make a little contribution from what I know and what I feel are adjustments that we need to make, if we are really serious about the education industry, which we should be, because of course we've analyzed where the problems are. Nigeria, the place where we are right now in the World Index and even within Africa, is deplorable to say the least. For me, a lot has been said. The good professor, Professor Tony Ogiame, has literally captured everything how it should be. Basically, there's no point speculating about what the future holds regarding post-COVID-19 education, online education. People have already been doing that decades ago. And there's a blueprint as to how to be done. People are qualified as lawyers. They've done wonderfully well without seeing their tutors face to face. So this is not the time to be speculating whether are we going to have quality education if we don't see our tutors or not. There's online universities constantly. In my workplace, we do a lot of training online, and they are very interactive. So there's online education, but there's also the science of online education, like the good professors mentioned. You need to literally tailor-make this exercise to make them interactive. So it's not about somebody just standing in front of a camera and talking constantly. That's not online education. Unfortunately, that's probably what a lot of people are doing right now in Nigeria. You put the children in front of an electronic device and you start bamboozling them. That's how this should be done. So I feel like we need to consult the likes of Professor Ogiame if we are really serious about getting this thing done. That's that. But for me, away from the technology, because even if you put the best of technology together and people don't have money for data, okay, all we're going to do is widen the gap between the privileged and the non-privileged. Okay, how many families have Android phones? Most people just have the regular phone, and their children still have to live through this whole process of learning online. How can you learn online without an Android phone, or with a cheap Android phone that doesn't really, that have software issues? So these are real life problems that people are having, not to mention the electricity or inability to charge the phone. So that's there. So what do we do? We're not just going to keep, carry on and analyzing what the problem is. How do we navigate this whole problem the Nigerian way? Because we're very resilient people and somehow we get things done. I think the first thing we need to do is we need to change the culture of learning. Honorable Jendam mentioned something earlier. The dichotomy of the educational system in Nigeria is shameful. A situation where a university graduate is held at a higher repute than a polytechnic graduate is abysmal. You don't even have the opportunity for two people to test what they are capable of. You judge one over the other based on their paperwork. That's already a problem. And how it's really bad, because When we were growing up, you have children within local communities whose parents only spoke indigenous languages. People raised by their grandfathers or grandmothers who only spoke, in my case, Yoruba. These kids have never been spoken English to in their life. They speak Yoruba. And then they go to a primary school. You want to teach them algebra with English. Imagine if somebody wanted to teach us anything in Russian right now. So you are teaching children with a foreign language, and then they say, oh, he's dumb. It's not good enough for school. Then you remove him from school, and he goes to learn mechanic. Guess what? The child that you say is an idiot will look at a vehicle, just listen to it, and diagnose it, and say, it's the plugs. It's the crane shaft. That's the person you called an idiot, only because of language barrier. I used to work with the European Union before now, and I had colleagues who never spoke English, who were doctors. They had PhDs. They spoke terrible English, but they were masters of their field. English was just a subject. So they learned their maths, their whatever their study was in their local language. The guy from Bulgaria, the guy from Latvia, the guy from Lithuania, they became masters of their field, and then they learned English as a course. So we really need to start to look into that situation. You know, growing up, they tell us, don't speak in vernacular. That is our mother tongue. Our mother tongue, being referred to as vernacular. So you now find a situation where mediocres are all over the industry. People speak eloquent English, and then you assume that they are very smart because they are good at English. This is the problem for us in Nigeria that we need to address. We need to address these things. So for me, the culture of learning needs to change. Also, this obsession with classroom education, we need to take a step back. Okay, there is non-formal education. A lot of beautiful things can come out of that. There's informal education. A lot of amazing things can come out of that, where we gather young people, summer classes, weekend classes, camp, boys camp, girls camp. We talk about life. We talk about citizenship. You know, we talk about education. We talk about social issues. We raise responsible human beings, you know, and that way people are growing up having dignity. People are growing up having discipline. All this can be done, you know, formally and informally. And now that we live in an era of social distancing, for those who don't know, coronavirus doesn't travel in the air. You have to pass it on. You literally have to spit into somebody's mouth before they catch it. So social distance is all we need. It doesn't stop us from gathering together. As long as we social distance, you see people wearing a mask and then staying next to each other. No, we need gap, and then we carry on with our life. It's here, we're going to live with it. So I don't want to digress too much. I also feel like for the politicians who are here, I hope Honorable Pella is still here. Government needs to stop, politicians need to stop playing politics with education. This is too important for you to be trying to score political points with education. You've had cases where people come and promise free education so they can get votes. And then you take away schools from private bodies. You wrestle school away from missionaries. And then you cannot fund it. You take St. this, St. that, St. Leo's, Catholic, Comprehensive, Anglican, you take all these schools away from the people who run them, and then you cannot run them just because you want to win an election, and you put young people's life in jeopardy. So I feel like politicians need to readdress this issue. Do not play politics with people's future. The educational sector is not where you score political goals. Let the experts handle it. We have people like Professor Tony Ogiamen here who know what they are doing. Let us go to people who know what they're doing, bring them into the educational sector. And then we have people within the, we have our organization, the NYC, we have people with hands, with passion, who are ready to get to work. Honorable Minister, this is directed towards you because you are the government. Please, Honorable Minister, if we are going to turn this thing around, these are the things that we need to put into place. First of all, we need to incentivize that industry. It is not fair to pay teachers like they are the scum of the earth. You pay peanuts, you get monkeys. So it gets to a point where we need to change the paradigm. We need to make the teaching industry very attractive so that when it's time to apply, people with the best degrees are going to step forward and say, I want to be a secondary school teacher. I want to be a primary school teacher because I know I'm going to make 300,000 naira every month and I'm going to get 3 months holiday. That's dream for anybody. So that we have people thinking, should I go to Shell or should I pick up a job at government secondary school? When we get to that position, then we are talking.
We have to focus more on primary education. The essence of quality primary education is to ensure the best education for children, for lifelong passion for learning and application of knowledge for a convenient future. Quality, therefore, is derived only where there are quality teachers and quality facilities to teach. These will boost discovery of knowledge, prove the viability of the quality of education explored, and afford the children the convenience to apply innovative ideas to create the required change in the future. The pandemic has exposed a lot of lapses and inadequacies in education in our country, and at all levels, in fact, particularly the primary school, which is the nucleus for the sustenance of education at all levels. The challenge we are facing today has been exposed suddenly because of the COVID catastrophe. This is because our curriculum has not created room to accommodate situations that are unpredictable, such as the problems we are facing presently that has kept everybody at home. Even as this summit is in progress, we can see the challenges experienced, which will be the same if these institutions adopt same measures to teach and learn. There are a lot of things, though, we cannot do online. We can't teach everything online. There are practicals that would require physical presence, direct experiences, and on-the-spot assessment. These can't be accomplished online. So what exactly would be the way forward? Multiplicity of approaches is required here. Restructuring of the primary school curriculum. The primary school curriculum has a lot of inadequacies. Lots of children have been compelled to acquire learning in areas they lack innate abilities due to the structure of the curriculum. We are living within the times where the children now are wiser, smarter, and very creative with respect to their fast-changing environment in comparison to children that were in school 30, 45 years back. So what has really changed in the curriculum to satisfy the children's aggression to learn? Nothing. It's the same process of teaching, learning, exams and grading of exams and all of that. These situations have to change. The curriculum must accommodate more of challenging activities so that the children can easily adjust to situations irrespective of the change. The children today are practical inclined. The curriculum should emphasize on that and not basing on the grading system. So the improvement of apps too is inclusive. Most of the apps we are using now are not very effective. We can experience the challenges even in the context of the ones that I used recently, WhatsApp, YouTube, and all that. We have power issues, yes, but we have program more app to accommodate this. Professor Tony was talking about the ones they generated, and it's working perfectly well. Teachers training and qualification in ICT literacy is very important. A lot of teachers, because of the pandemic, are not teaching because they are not computer literate. It's embarrassing, very embarrassing. Before the pandemic, most of us teach PhD students on WhatsApp because they all don't attend lectures at the same time. That's an adult class. So you can't say because they are students, they must be there at the time the lecture is holding. The online teaching process is very convenient to help tackle all of those issues. So tablets also, or other devices should be part of children's book list. We have to prepare for the future. Children are still being taught based on the curriculum of yesteryears, not preparing them for tomorrow, but we are still at the same point. So if the curriculum actually is being reviewed, the child can be prepared for the future. And the school calendar should create room to accommodate both distant learning and in-class learning for the same learners. So we shouldn't be using power as an excuse. All these are normal. If we keep excusing ourselves with no power, no money for data, no this, no that, etc., we will never even dare the least. We need to start from where we are to arrive at where we are going.
Okay, Professor Frame, SN, please, you can come in, please.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. Actually, I am an associate professor, not yet a full professor. I represent the Political Philosophers Association of Nigeria, and I am an associate professor of philosophy, Department of Philosophy, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. Thank you very much, the Nigerian Youth Congress, for putting this together, making it possible for us to brainstorm on how we can attain quality education in Nigeria. Yes, like I have mentioned, I represent the philosophers. We are talking about education here, and almost everybody everywhere has got to learn to know that philosophy is the mother of the arts and the sciences, the origin of education. Education is derived from the Latin word educo, educare, which means to bring to light. And it is the function of philosophy to be the background and the foundation for education, for any quality education. One of the core branches of philosophy is ethics, which deals with moral values. That is to say, the study of the principles and the standard and the code for social behavior. When talking about education and quality education, any education without a moral code does not befit the name education. And quoting Socrates, one of our philosophers, who said that an unexamined life is not worth living. And he went on again to say, man, know yourself. To know and knowledge have everything to do with education. What are we saying in essence? We have heard a lot of deliberations, suggestions, and recommendations from our past speakers, and nothing has been taught and mentioned about the moral code. The problem in Nigeria is because of the ignorance or the lack of philosophy. Nigeria and the Nigerian education will continue to suffer except philosophy is brought to bear in Nigerian education. What am I saying? The problem of corruption that is endemic in Nigeria is as a result of lack of moral values, which is given and led by ethics education. The last speaker, Professor Helen Sokari, had made mention of emphasis on primary education. And our suggestion and recommendation is that ethics education should be inculcated, should be involved, should be introduced in Nigerian education from primary, secondary to higher institutional level. Most Nigerian graduates only hear about philosophy and ethics in their general study classes, in their level 100, when we are taught introduction to philosophy and logic, the history and philosophy of science. In some schools, it is called GST. Other schools call it GSS. Other schools call it GENS, like in Abu Zaria. Our projection is that ethics education, moral education should be introduced from the primary level of education in Nigeria through the secondary level of education and the tertiary institutional level. Apart from ethics education, apart from philosophy, Nigerian education, no matter the height in technicality, even if we have the best technical level of attainments in Nigerian education, without the moral basics, we will not have done much. So our suggestion from the Political Philosophers Association of Nigeria is that ethics education should be introduced in the primary level and secondary level and higher level of education. And apart from that, when this is done, most of our students and graduates of philosophy will not be found wanting after graduation. You observe that in most advertisements for jobs in Nigeria all the time, there is never a time that BA in philosophy has ever been mentioned anywhere. And here we are still producing art graduates in philosophy. What is their function? Except the government does the needful, introduce ethics education, then at the primary and secondary level of education, these graduates can go in to assist Nigeria. Our conclusion is that Nigerian education can never be named quality education without ethics and philosophy involved. I thank you so much, the Nigerian Youth Congress, for putting this together, and with all our regards and best considerations, we praise you so much for doing this, and we are willing and ready to work with you. Currently, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offenses Commission and the National Orientation Agency of Nigeria has intended to collaborate with the Political Philosophers Association of Nigeria, PAN, in drafting the National Ethics and Integrity Policy. We are ready to work with them, and we are still on the same prayer that ethics education, moral education, moral instruction should be taken back to the primary elementary level. It is from that level that we can start learning and inculcating the values. Apart from that, Nigeria will remain the way it is. So this is our prayer, and we are ready to work with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please, we are going to entertain about 5 questions. If you have any.
President, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come back again. I have been on standby, for the last 3 hours to participate in this program. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you clear, sir.
Okay, well, I'm already driving, but I just want to say a few things. One is to thank all of you for putting this together, and also to thank the participants, especially the excellencies and the minister who took our time to be in this event. A lot of issues have been discussed, so it will be difficult to really separate all the issues now because they are not supposed to come under all one basket. But again, I'll just say a few things as a goodwill message. One is that our government needs to prioritize their spending. We may not have all the money to spend in education, but I can tell you, right prioritization is key to all of this. Right now, many of the schools, many of the states don't even have baseline of their system. They don't understand which are their problems. So most of the spending are not going where the spending are supposed to be going to. I listened to Governor of Nasarawa. What he has done is commendable. doing a baseline to establish, one, how many schools do you have? What is the status of the infrastructure? What level of manpower support do you need to give to the teachers? What level of support do you need to give to the students? If you don't determine the baseline and you begin to pump money into education, most of the time, the money you spend those money in the wrong direction. So I think that needs to be done and done correctly. Secondly, education can be broken into 3 components: governance, technology, and support, then feedback. I think the governance is a key issue that we need to resolve from the national level. What is our national interest? If you look at most, they've been able to structure their education in line with their national agenda. If you look at America as a country, entrepreneurship. So we need as a nation to structure our education to focus on what we want to achieve as a nation. Right now, our education is not in any particular known direction. So we need to harmonize our education and have a plan that helps us get to where we're going, right from primary through secondary to tertiary education. So I believe that post-COVID, a lot has to change. Currently now, many families can't afford data. In a country where over 70% are living below poverty line, how do you take children from those families, migrate them through a stable platform of education? So it's quite a complicated subject matter. But I think if we do the right prioritization, put our expenditure in the right places where we need to spend money, and cut down wastages, we'll be able to do better in our education than we're currently doing now. So once again, I want to thank you for inviting me to be part of this. I think this has taken more than 3 hours or about 4 hours. I won't keep you waiting any longer. Let me just leave it here and to thank all those who have been part of this event. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. If you are there, Dr. Ellen Sokari, the question is, how do the government curb the level of digital divide in rural community or remote area in Nigeria to enable those in village get adequate access to the new development? We also have a question, does NYZM branch? I think we have branches in all the 36 states. I can answer that. We have branches in all the 36 states headed by state chairmen, including Rivers, FCT, everywhere. So I think the next question goes to Professor Tony. If Professor Tony Ogiame is still there, can we have a completely online primary education in Nigeria? I think that question is very pregnant, if I can say it like that. Can we have a completely online primary education in Nigeria? Those are the questions asked by Abdul Rafiu Arikewuyo. So can we have a completely online primary education? If you are one of our speakers that spoke earlier, I think